The 1970s were a time of social change, disco anthems, and many, many firsts. Hollywood classics like Star Wars, Saturday Night Fever, and The Godfather were released. Mother Teresa and Harvey Milk were revered for their activism. Prepared to be transported back in time to the electrifying 70s. We present the 100 most insane photographs revisited from the 70s. Stunningly amazing. Number 100. Muhammad Ali boxed against undefeated world heavyweight champion George Foreman in what was known as the Rumble in the Jungle. On October 30th, 1974, one of the most iconic boxing matches in history took place, the Rumble in the Jungle. Muhammad Ali, considered the underdog, faced off against undefeated world heavyweight champion George Foreman in what was then Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of the Congo. In the 8th round, with Foreman visibly fatigued, Ali launched a powerful counterattack, ultimately knocking Foreman out. Ali became the heavyweight champion once again, and this victory is considered one of the greatest upsets in boxing history. The Rumble in the Jungle was not only an historic sporting event, but also a highly publicized and globally watched spectacle. It drew an audience of 60,000 people and an estimated 1 billion TV viewers worldwide at the time, making it one of the most watched live television broadcasts in history. Number 99. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sally Field. In 1976, Arnold Schwarzenegger was just beginning to make a name for himself in Hollywood, having recently landed his first major film role in Stay Hungry alongside seasoned actress Sally Field. To help prepare for her role in the film, Field turned to Schwarzenegger for help getting into shape. Number 98. 14-year-old superstar model Brooke Shields shows her style on the dance floor at Studio 54. She first gained attention at just 15 years old when she appeared in a controversial series of Calvin Klein jeans ads, in which she famously proclaimed, "Nothing comes between me and my Calvins." Number 97. American singer Madonna, New York City, autumn of 1978. In the fall of '78, Madonna had just moved to New York City from her hometown of Bay City, Michigan, with dreams of becoming a professional dancer. By 1978, she had already made a name for herself in the New York dance scene and was well on her way to achieving her dreams. Number 96. Playboy model Barbie Benton in Hugh Hefner's aircraft at London Airport before flying back to Chicago, 1971. In the 70s, Barbie Benton was one of the most popular and well-known Playboy models of the time. A stunning beauty with long golden hair and piercing blue eyes, Benton graced the pages of the iconic men's magazine numerous times throughout the decade. Number 95. A young woman dancing at a discotheque, 1970s. The 70s were the era of disco, and this trend swept across the globe, taking the world by storm. Disco was a music genre that emerged in the early 1970s and was characterized by its pulsating beats, funky bass lines, and catchy melodies. Number 94. Stewardesses working for Southwest Airlines of Texas showing off more than a little skin. In the 1970s, Southwest Airlines of Texas had a sassy and sexy dress code for its stewardesses, which was quite common for airlines at the time. Stewardesses were expected to dress in a way that was considered sexy and alluring, with short skirts, bright and bold makeup, and form-fitting uniforms that showed off their curves. Number 93. Jerry Hall, backstage, Kritzia Fashion Show, Olympic Towers, New York, 1979. People don't get more unforgettable than Jerry Hall, one of the most iconic models of the 70s. With her long blonde hair, tall and slender figure, and radiant smile, Hall was the epitome of 1970s glamour. Number 92. Paul Cutler using a light pen and keyboard to work on a vector graphics project using an IBM 2250 graphics display unit, Mountain View, California, August 30th, 1973. The IBM 2250 was a groundbreaking piece of technology when it was first released in the 1970s. One of the most innovative features of the 2250 was its ability to use a light pen and keyboard to create vector graphics. Number 91. Jane Seymour adjusts her racing helmet while driving an open-wheeled racing car at a celebrity event at the Malibu Grand Prix, October 14, 1977. People don't get more memorable than Jane Seymour in 1977. At this time, the actress and model was at the height of her career. When she participated in the Malibu Grand Prix in 1977, it was a thrill for her and her fans. Number 90. Bianca Jagger rides in on a white horse during her birthday celebration at Studio 54 in New York, May 1977. The event, which was held at the legendary New York City nightclub, was attended by many celebrities and became one of the most iconic moments in the club's history. Number 89. Farrah Fawcett surrounded by photographers at Studio 54 during a party sponsored by Fabergé, which introduced a new line of hair products for the company. Fawcett became a household name thanks to her role on the hit TV show Charlie's Angels. In addition to her acting career, she also released a line of shampoos with Fabergé, which only added to her already impressive fame and fortune. Number 88. The original Charlie's Angels, the best to ever do it. The original cast of Charlie's Angels, which aired on ABC from 1976 to 1981, featured Farrah Fawcett, Kate Jackson, and Jaclyn Smith as private detectives working for the mysterious Charles Townsend. Number 87. Drivers push cars to gas station during the oil crisis of the 1970s. The oil crisis in America during the 1970s was a time of great uncertainty and hardship for many Americans. It was triggered by a number of factors, including the decision by Arab oil-producing countries to embargo exports to the U.S. in response to American support for Israel in the Yom Kippur War. Number 86. Iggy Pop performs at the Old Waldorf Club in San Francisco, November 12, 1977. Iggy Pop was a rock and roll icon of the 70s, known for his wild and unpredictable onstage antics and hedonistic lifestyle offstage. Offstage, he was infamous for his hard partying ways and appetite for excess. Number 85. A worker atop the World Trade Center during its construction in New York City, 1971. The construction of the World Trade Center began in 1966, and it was a massive undertaking requiring the efforts of thousands of workers. The project was led by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, and it involved the construction of 2 tall towers, as well as several other buildings and structures. Number 84. July 10, 1970. British soldiers take aim at civil rights demonstrators in Belfast, Northern Ireland. The Troubles were a period of sectarian conflict in Northern Ireland from the late 60s to the late 90s. The conflict was characterized by violence, including bombings, shootings, and assassinations, carried out by both Republican and Loyalist paramilitary groups, as well as by the British security forces. Number 83. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis arrives to her 4th wedding anniversary party at the El Morocco nightclub, 1972. She rose to fame as the beautiful and poised First Lady of the United States, and she captured the hearts of people around the world with her elegance and charm. After the assassination of her husband, President John F. Kennedy, Jackie faced a difficult time in her life. Number 82. Actors Jodie Foster and Robert De Niro sit together at a diner in a still from the film Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver is a classic movie that has stood the test of time and continues to be beloved by audiences around the world. Released in 1976, the film stars Robert De Niro as Travis Bickle, a disturbed and disillusioned Vietnam veteran who becomes a taxi driver in New York City. Number 81. After her concert at the Bottom Line, Musician Dolly Parton hugs comedian John Belushi during a party atop the World Trade Center, New York City, May 14, 1977. Parton's performances were a highlight of the city's entertainment scene, showcasing her dynamic stage presence and hit songs like Jolene and Coat of Many Colors.
Well, he lived by the apple orchard in this little old orchard shack. And his name was Jackson Taylor, but we all called him Applejack.
Number 80. Alice Cooper performing with a boa constrictor. He was known for his over-the-top performances, which often included antics like pretending to be electrocuted on stage and performing with a boa constrictor wrapped around his neck. Number 79. John Travolta dancing with actress Marilu Henner. Travolta's breakout film role came in 1977 when he starred as Danny Zuko in the hit musical Grease. The film became one of the highest-grossing films of all time, and Travolta's performance as the smooth-talking greaser heartthrob made him a household name. Number 78. American heavyweight boxing champ Muhammad Ali walks through the streets with members of the Black Panther Party, September 1970. Ali was at the height of his boxing career in 1970, having recently regained the title of World Heavyweight Champion after a controversial win against George Foreman in the fight of the century. Number 77. Disco Demolition Night wreaked havoc in Comiskey Park. Disco Demolition Night was a controversial event that took place on Thursday, July 12, 1979, at Comiskey Park in Chicago. Things quickly escalated out of control as a riot broke out among thousands of attendees who rushed the field and caused extensive damage. The riot resulted in numerous injuries, arrests, and a forfeit of the second game of the doubleheader. Number 76. Children Trick-or-Treating, Rego Park, 1970. Halloween in the 70s was a much different holiday than it is today. Back then, costumes were often homemade or purchased at local stores, which offered a more limited selection compared to the vast array of options available today. Parties were often low-key affairs, with parents hosting gatherings at their homes and serving up spooky snacks like eyeball gelatin salads and finger hot dogs. Number 75. Bobby's on the Run During the Troubles, 1976. The relationship between the Republic of Ireland and the United Kingdom in the 70s was complex and strained at times. In 1972, the two countries signed the Anglo-Irish Agreement, which established a framework for cooperation on Northern Ireland and recognized the Irish government's right to consult on matters affecting the region. Number 74. Couple Kissing by Sadie Hawkins Dance Banner. High school dances in the 70s were a special event for many young people. They were an opportunity to get dressed up, hang out with friends in a fun environment, and maybe even share a slow dance with that special someone. Number 73. Charles Manson mugs for the press during his court hearing for the Gary Hinman murder. Charles Manson was the mastermind behind the gruesome murder of Gary Hinman, a music teacher and small-time drug dealer who had the misfortune of dealing with this scraggly madman. The murder was committed by members of Manson's family, a cult-like group of followers who were completely devoted to him.
What do you think it is about you that makes people want to be a part of whatever it is you're a part of?
Number 72. Evel Knievel is flying high and fast as he leaps over 9 cars and a truck at Madison Square Garden. On July 8, 1971, Knievel performed one of his most impressive feats at Madison Square Garden in New York City. In front of a packed crowd, Knievel successfully jumped 9 cars and a truck, showcasing his bravery and skill as a performer. Number 71. Gas dealers beware. The 1970s were marked by an oil crisis that had a profound impact on the US and the rest of the world. In this atmosphere of desperation and fear, gas thieves began to emerge, taking advantage of the crisis to profit from the suffering of others. Number 70. Hijacked passenger planes burning in Jordan Desert. In September 1970, the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, hijacked 3 international airliners bound for New York City and London. The hijackers, armed and demanding the release of Arab prisoners held in Western jails, took over 200 passengers into custody and destroyed all 3 planes as a show of force. Number 69. Jackie Stewart on his way to victory in the 1970 Spanish Grand Prix. His victory in the 1970 Spanish Grand Prix showcased his skill in navigating challenging conditions. Despite extremely hot temperatures that made the track slippery, Stewart drove his March 701 for the Tyrrell Racing Team to victory. Number 68. Khe Sanh, South Vietnam. U.S. Chinook helicopter lowers supplies by cable. The image reflects the logistical challenges faced by U.S. troops during the Vietnam War. To support soldiers on the ground, the U.S. military established a complex logistics system, including airfields, ports, and roadways, to transport essential supplies. Number 67. Mick Jagger and Divine attending Andy Warhol's pre-opening party at Manhattan's Copacabana nightclub, 1976. The pre-opening party at the Copacabana in 1976 epitomizes Warhol's ability to bring together diverse celebrities and artists. The event featured attendees like Mick Jagger, the iconic Rolling Stones frontman, and Divine, the flamboyant drag queen and cult film star. Number 66. Tokyo, Japan. A salesman stands idly in front of a display of TV sets. This photo captures a scene from Japan in the 1970s, when the country faced high inflation rates, which were among the highest in the industrialized world. High inflation led to rising prices for everyday goods and impacted the purchasing power of citizens. Number 65. Music legend David Bowie looks cool even in this 1976 mugshot. David Bowie, the music icon of the 70s, was arrested on marijuana charges in 1976. Despite his arrest, Bowie's career continued to flourish, and he remained a prominent figure in the music industry. This incident added to his aura of rebellion and nonconformity, which were a part of his appeal to his fans.
Some man waiting in the sky, he'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our mind.
Number 64. A man watering grass growing on a turfed-over VW Beetle car, circa 1970. Owners often personalized their Beetles, turning them into expressions of individuality. AstroTurf was sometimes added to create a whimsical and eye-catching effect, as shown in this photo. Number 63. Robin Williams dancing with wife Valerie and having fun with Santa Claus at Studio 54, circa 1979. Robin Williams, known for his energetic and improvisational comedy, rose to fame in the 70s with roles on television and stand-up comedy. His attendance at Studio 54, a famous nightclub of the era, showcased his ability to entertain and connect with audiences. Number 62. Shoppers at nearly empty supermarket shelves during a trucker strike in Surrey, England. A trucker strike in England during the 1970s, known as the Winter of Discontent, had significant economic and social consequences. The strike disrupted the supply chain, leading to empty supermarket shelves and difficulties in accessing essential goods. It contributed to public discontent and played a role in political developments, including the election of Margaret Thatcher as Prime Minister in 1979. Number 61. Skateboarding in a drained pool, 1978. Skateboarding in the 70s experienced a resurgence in popularity, with skate parks and empty swimming pools becoming popular spots for skateboarders. Skateboarding in empty pools was a defining aspect of this subculture and contributed to the sport's evolution. Number 60. Steve Jobs preparing to debut the Apple II at the West Coast Computer Fair, 1977. The Apple II was a groundbreaking machine featuring a built-in keyboard and a graphical user interface, setting it apart from other computers of the time. This debut was the beginning of Apple's journey to becoming one of the most influential technology companies in the world. Number 59. Steve Martin at the Community Center in Sacramento, California, circa 1975. Steve Martin's rise to stardom in the 1970s, fueled by his unique brand of humor, marked a significant era in comedy. His performances, including those at venues like the Community Center in Sacramento, showcased his comedic genius. Martin had great versatility, from comedy writing to stand-up to film and music. Number 58. 3 of the Chicago 7. Rubin, Hoffman, and Davis give a press conference. The Chicago 7 trial in 1969 highlighted the political and social tensions of the era, revolving around anti-Vietnam War protests during the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago. The defendants, including Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin, became countercultural icons, symbolizing the youth rebellion and protest movements of the 1960s.
You have lawyers to speak for you.
No, he doesn't!
Number 57. Trash piling up on the streets of London during the Winter of Discontent. The Winter of Discontent in 1978-79 represented a period of intense labor unrest and strikes in the UK. The photograph of trash piling up on the streets of London illustrates the disruptive consequences of the strikes on public services. Number 56. Vehicles in line for gas in Long Beach, California, 1979. The image of vehicles waiting for gasoline in Long Beach reflects the challenges faced by drivers during this period. The oil crisis influenced energy policies and prompted efforts to reduce dependence on foreign oil. Number 55. Apollo 13 astronauts' safe return to Earth in 1970. The Apollo 13 mission is remembered for its dramatic rescue of astronauts James A. Lovell, John L. Swigert, and Fred W. Hayes, who faced life-threatening challenges in space. Their safe return to Earth after an oxygen tank explosion underscored the resilience and resourcefulness of NASA's astronauts and ground control teams. Number 54. First commercial transatlantic flight of the Boeing 747, 1970. The debut of the Boeing 747 for commercial transatlantic flights in 1970 marked a significant milestone in aviation history. This jumbo jet, operated by Pan Am, revolutionized air travel by significantly increasing passenger capacity. The Boeing 747's introduction made long-distance air travel more accessible and affordable. Number 53. Billie Jean King's victory in the Battle of the Sexes, 1973. Billie Jean King's triumph over Bobby Riggs in the Battle of the Sexes tennis match in 1973 was a watershed moment in sports and women's rights. King's victory not only demonstrated the skill and capability of female athletes, but also became a symbol of progress in the fight for gender equality. Number 52. Social change in the 1970s. The 1970s were a time of significant social change, characterized by activism and advocacy for various causes. Women's rights activists organized events like the Women's Strike for Equality, marking progress in the feminist movement. The LGBTQ rights movement gained momentum with the first Gay Rights March in New York City, coinciding with the anniversary of the Stonewall riots. Number 51. The first Gay Rights March in New York, 1970. It was held on the anniversary of the Stonewall riots, and it was a landmark event in the LGBTQ rights movement. It marked a movement of visibility and activism for the gay community, advocating for civil rights and the inclusion of LGBTQ individuals in anti-discrimination legislation. Number 50. Prior to the conclusion of the Vietnam War, widespread opposition to the United States' involvement gave rise to numerous anti-war actions. Number 49. Protests against the Vietnam War continued throughout the early years of the decade. The movement reached its zenith in 1970 when a tragic incident unfolded at Kent State University, where Ohio National Guard members fired upon college students who were protesting the war. This event resulted in the deaths of 4 students and injuries to 9 others on May 4, 1970. Number 48. On June 13, 1971, the New York Times began publishing information about the Vietnam War, revealed in the Pentagon Papers. Daniel Ellsberg, a former Department of Defense strategic analyst, clandestinely photocopied substantial portions of the report. Following the third article's publication, the U.S. Department of Justice obtained a temporary restraining order against the Times, citing national security concerns. However, on June 30, 1971, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of the newspaper, asserting their First Amendment right to publish the information. Number 47. The fall of Saigon in 1975 acted as the last crescendo in the Vietnam War, as American diplomats, Marine Guards, and contractors were airlifted out of the city. More than 1,000 Americans and over 5,000 Vietnamese civilians were airlifted from Saigon on April 29, 1975, through the following morning. The operation, known as Operation Frequent Wind, lasted 19 hours and necessitated the use of 81 helicopters for a safe evacuation. Number 46. In 1971, Main Street USA in the Magic Kingdom of Disneyland opened. The grand opening ceremony featured a performance by Julie Andrews on October 1, 1971. Number 45. In 1970, the world was shocked when Paul McCartney announced that the Beatles had broken up. On April 10, 1970, McCartney released a self-interview to the press, revealing the impending release of a solo album. Responding to inquiries about whether the Beatles' breakup was temporary or permanent and the reasons behind it, McCartney cited, quote, "personal differences, business differences, musical differences, but most of all, because I have a better time with my family." Number 44. Bridge Over Troubled Water, one of the best-selling albums of the decade. Simon and Garfunkel went out with a bang. The duo of Simon and Garfunkel reached a zenith with this release, which occurred on January 26, 1970. The album secured the number 1 spot for 10 weeks, remaining on the charts for a total of 85 weeks, and achieving 8 platinum certifications. Number 43. Margaret Thatcher becomes UK's Prime Minister. Margaret Thatcher became Prime Minister of the United Kingdom on May 4, 1979. Known as the Iron Lady, Thatcher was the first woman to be elected British Prime Minister and the longest-serving Prime Minister in over 150 years, with a term lasting 11 years and 208 days. Interestingly, she initially expressed doubts about a woman becoming Prime Minister, stating, quote, "There will not be a woman Prime Minister in my lifetime." Number 42. On seemingly the other side of the musical spectrum, Swedish pop group ABBA formed in 1972. This group would become closely associated with the global disco music phenomenon, captivating audiences not only in the US but around the world. ABBA achieved international stardom with hits like Mamma Mia, Dancing Queen, Waterloo, and Take a Chance on Me, becoming a mainstay in dance clubs. Number 41. Another notable music group of the era was the Village People. In 1978, their debut album, Village People, produced international hit singles such as Macho Man, YMCA, San Francisco, In the Navy, and Go West. The band's music and public image resonated with LGBTQ+ fans, and their name directly referenced Greenwich Village in New York City. Number 40. In 1977, Prince Charles was dating Lady Sarah Spencer. It was through Lady Sarah that Prince Charles would eventually be introduced to Lady Diana Spencer, who would become Princess Diana. Charles and Diana went on to marry in a grand ceremony at St. Paul's Cathedral in London on July 29, 1981. Number 39. Barbra Streisand was one of the biggest stars of the decade, culminating in her Oscar win for Best Original Song at the 49th Academy Awards in 1977. By the end of the 70s, Streisand was recognized as one of the most successful female singers in the United States. She shared the record for the most #1 pop singles by a female singer with Diana Ross, with both artists having 4 chart-topping hits throughout the decade. Number 38. Fleetwood Mac released the band's highly acclaimed album Rumours in 1977. The recording process for this album was infamously marked by disputes among the band's members, who were entangled in romantic relationships with each other. Despite the challenges, Rumours went on to sell more than 45 million copies worldwide. At the 1978 Grammy Awards, Fleetwood Mac received the top honor of Album of the Year for Rumours. Number 37. The 1970s was the decade of the power couple. A notable moment occurred in 1977 when John Lennon and Yoko Ono were photographed alongside fellow 70s power couple James Taylor and Carly Simon, garnering significant attention and recognition. Number 36. The Rocky Horror Picture Show was released on September 25, 1975. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, a film adaptation of the 1973 stage production of the same name, made its debut on September 25, 1975. Initially, the movie didn't receive much fanfare upon release. However, in the mid to late 70s, select theaters like the Waverly in New York City began hosting midnight screenings.
Well, you got caught with a flat world. How about that? Well, babies, don't you panic.
Number 35. Saturday Night Fever hits theaters on December 12, 1977. The film enjoyed tremendous commercial success, and its soundtrack, featuring disco songs by the Bee Gees, became one of the best-selling movie soundtracks of all time. Iconic Bee Gees hits such as Stayin' Alive, More Than a Woman, How Deep Is Your Love, and Night Fever were prominently featured on the album. Number 34. Following his breakout success from Saturday Night Fever, John Travolta appeared in another iconic 70s movie, Grease. The 1978 movie, filmed with a modest budget of $6 million, proved to be a colossal box office hit, grossing nearly $400 million. The film's title track, Grease, composed by Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees, soared to the #1 position on the charts following the movie's release. Number 33. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the world changed forever when Star Wars hit theaters in 1977. Despite its relatively modest budget of $11 million, the film became the highest-grossing movie of all time, a title it held until the release of E.T. the Extraterrestrial in 1982. Star Wars achieved a staggering worldwide box office gross of $775 million. Number 32. Charlie's Angels enjoyed huge popularity after its release in 1976. While the show was often associated with Jiggle TV, emphasizing the sex appeal of its female cast members, it received high ratings during its initial 2 seasons. Farrah Fawcett, one of the stars of the show, rose to stardom during her time on the series. Number 31. Saturday Night Live premiered on October 11, 1975, with host George Carlin. The inaugural cast, known as the Not Ready for Primetime Players, included Chevy Chase, John Belushi, Michael O'Donoghue, Gilda Radner, Jane Curtin, Lorraine Newman, George Coe, and Garrett Morris. Over the years, SNL has become one of the longest-running and most influential TV shows in history. Number 30. In 1974, Hank Aaron of the Atlanta Braves beat Babe Ruth's legendary home run record. On April 8, 1974, baseball legend Hank Aaron made history by hitting his 715th home run during a game against the LA Dodgers. This monumental achievement surpassed Babe Ruth's long-standing record of 714 home runs. Number 29. On July 5, 1975, Arthur Ashe became the first black tennis player to win Wimbledon. This achievement followed his groundbreaking victory at the U.S. Open in 1968, where he also became the first black man to claim the title. At the age of 31, Ash's triumph at Wimbledon was particularly notable as he defeated the defending champion, 22-year-old Jimmy Connors.
Ball was out, game to Ash.
Number 28. The Sears Tower in Chicago became the tallest building in the world upon its completion in 1973. The Sears Tower in Chicago, standing at 110 stories and 1,450 feet tall, became the tallest building in the world, surpassing the World Trade Center in New York City, which had held the title for nearly 25 years. It was later surpassed as the world's tallest building in 1998 by the Petronas Towers in Malaysia. Number 27. Fireworks filled the night sky over New York Harbor and the Statue of Liberty during America's bicentennial celebration in 1976. This event marked the 200th anniversary of the final approval of the Declaration of Independence on July 4, 1776, and was part of a nationwide series of events and festivities. Number 26. On April 1, 1976, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ron Wayne officially incorporated Apple Computer Incorporated. This marked the beginning of a journey that would lead to the creation of one of the most influential and successful technology companies in the world. Apple's early days saw the development of the Apple I computer, and in 1977, the company unveiled the prototype of the Apple II, which later became the first mass-market personal computer available for purchase. Number 25. On July 25, 1978, Louise Brown became the first human to be born through in vitro fertilization, or IVF. Born on July 25, 1978, she was often referred to as the world's first test tube baby. The pioneering work of Dr. Robert Edwards and Dr. Patrick Steptoe led to her birth. IVF technology has since been used to help millions of couples around the world achieve their dreams of parenthood. Number 24. After leaving the 60s girl group The Supremes, Diana Ross shot to stardom as a solo artist. Her hit songs, including Reach Out and Touch Somebody's Hand, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Touch Me in the Morning, Do You Know Where You're Going To, and Love Hangover, dominated the charts. Additionally, Diana Ross ventured into film, starring in movies like Mahogany and The Wiz. Number 23. John Paul II was elected on October 16, 1978. He became the first non-Italian pope since Dutch Pope Adrian VI in the 16th century. Pope John Paul II was known for his charismatic and influential papacy, emphasizing human rights and drawing massive crowds during his travels. He was particularly famous for repeating the refrain, "Be not afraid," during his installation mass on October 22, 1978. Number 22. President Nixon became the first U.S. president to visit the People's Republic of China in 1972. This visit marked a pivotal moment in U.S.-China relations, as it led to the normalization of diplomatic ties between the two countries. President Nixon famously described his visit as, quote, "the week that changed the world."
A few hours later, the president met with Chairman Mao Zedong. The 79-year-old leader was in frail health.
Number 21. Counterculture groups like the hippies flourished in the 1970s. The era was characterized by a rejection of mainstream values and an embrace of alternative lifestyles. Communes advocating a free love philosophy emerged, and the influence of counterculture ideals, including long hair, psychedelic music, and environmental consciousness, began to permeate mainstream society. Number 20. Harvey Milk is one of the most recognized American politicians of the 70s, and was the first openly gay elected official in the history of California. Tragically, Milk's life was cut short by an act of violence. As a result of his assassination, a national conversation about gay rights and discrimination was sparked. On November 27, 1978, Harvey Milk, along with San Francisco Mayor George Moscone, was fatally shot by Dan White, a fellow member of the San Francisco City County Board. Number 19. The Partridge Family aired for the first time on September 25, 1970. The show quickly gained popularity, and its cast, including David Cassidy, who portrayed Keith Partridge, became famous. David Cassidy, in particular, became a heartthrob and a teen pop idol of the 1970s. The Partridge Family continued to entertain viewers until its final episode aired on March 23, 1974. Number 18. Vice President Spiro Agnew resigned from office in 1973. His resignation came less than a year before President Richard Nixon's own resignation. On the day of his resignation, Agnew pleaded no contest to a charge of federal income tax evasion as part of a plea deal, which led to the dropping of political corruption charges against him. As a result, the former vice president was fined $10,000, sentenced to 3 years of probation, and disbarred by the Maryland Court of Appeals. Number 17. Beverly Johnson became the first Black Vogue cover model in 1974. In 1974, Beverly Johnson achieved an historic milestone by becoming the first Black model to grace the cover of Vogue magazine. Her appearance on the cover was a significant moment in the fashion industry and a major step toward greater diversity and representation in the world of modeling. Number 16. The trial of serial killer Ted Bundy captivated the nation in 1979. Bundy confessed to the murders of numerous women during the 1970s, though experts believe there may have been more than 100 victims in total. His arrest in 1975 followed an escape from police custody in Colorado. He was executed in the electric chair in 1989 and remains one of the most notorious criminals of the 20th century.
I'm not going to be in this room that jury box, and I'm not going through this, and you knew that, Your Honor. Sit down. You know how far you can push me.
Number 15. In 1979, scientists at the City of Hope National Medical Center developed a way to create a novel gene that could be coded for human insulin. They developed a method for creating a synthetic gene that could produce human insulin. By 1982, synthetic insulin became commercially available for diabetes patients, offering a more reliable and sustainable source of insulin production. Number 14. New Yorkers roller skate to work to do their bit for environmentalism during the first Earth Day, April 22, 1970. On this day, millions of people worldwide came together to advocate for the protection of the environment and the conservation of natural resources. In New York City, a memorable demonstration took place as hundreds of people decided to roller skate to work, showcasing an eco-friendly mode of transportation and raising awareness about reducing reliance on fossil fuels. Number 13. Farrah Fawcett skateboarded during some downtime on Charlie's Angels. Farrah Fawcett, known for her role as Jill Monroe on the hit TV series Charlie's Angels, epitomized the spirit of the 70s. Farrah's hairstyle, popularized on the show, became a cultural phenomenon in its own right, and her poster featuring her in a swimsuit and her signature hairdo became one of the best-selling posters of all time. Number 12. Mother Teresa received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979. Mother Teresa, renowned for her lifelong dedication to helping the poor and marginalized, received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979. Her work as a humanitarian and advocate for the less fortunate earned her international recognition. Mother Teresa's mission and selfless service to those in need left an indelible mark on the world, and in 2016 she was canonized as a saint by Pope Francis. Number 11. Muhammad Ali and Sylvester Stallone at the 49th Academy Awards. The two icons presented the Best Supporting Actress Award, and their appearance was met with enthusiastic cheers and applause from the audience. Before announcing the winner, Ali and Stallone engaged in a playful and entertaining fake fight. Despite the lighthearted antics, actress Beatrice Straight ultimately received the award for her role in Network and delivered a moving acceptance speech. Number 10. Portrait of Belgian-born fashion designer Diane von Furstenberg as she sits on an airplane at JFK Airport, New York, May 1979. Diane von Furstenberg burst onto the fashion scene in the 1970s with her iconic wrap dress, a simple yet sophisticated design that quickly became a must-have for women around the world. In the 70s, von Furstenberg was at the height of her fame, and her dresses were worn by everyone from movie stars to royalty.
it is very helpful, for them to walk in here and to see all what the brand stands for.
Number 9. Mick Jagger during the Rolling Stones' 1975 tour of the Americas. In 1975, Mick Jagger, the legendary lead singer of the Rolling Stones, was at the pinnacle of his fame and musical career. The band embarked on their Tour of the Americas 75, which was a massive concert tour that took them across North America. The tour featured performances at some of the most iconic and prestigious venues in the world, and Jagger's electrifying stage presence left audiences captivated and wanting more. Number 8. On August 16, 1977, Elvis Presley passed away. More than 30,000 grieving fans had the opportunity to pay their respects by participating in a public viewing of Elvis's body at his Graceland mansion in Memphis, Tennessee on August 17, 1977. Elvis was laid to rest in the Forest Hill Cemetery on August 18. Number 7. The Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour premiered in August 1971. One of the notable aspects of the show was Cher's extravagant and often outrageous costumes, which became a hallmark of her style. The Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour continued to entertain viewers until its final episode aired on May 29, 1974. Number 6. Elton John was one of the most popular artists of the 1970s. During this prolific decade, Elton John released a total of 12 albums and delivered some of his most iconic songs, including Rocket Man, Your Song, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Part-Time Lover, Crocodile Rock, and Sorry Seems to Be the Hardest Word. Elton John's impact on the 1970s music scene was profound, with 26 top 40 hit singles, 16 top 10 hits, and 6 number 1 hits. Number 5. Firemen responding to a 3-alarm fire in New York City, 1970. The 70s were a challenging period for New York City, characterized by financial difficulties, rising crime rates, and various crises. Arson became a significant issue during this time, with many neighborhoods experiencing a decline in safety and property conditions. Criminals often set fires for various reasons, including insurance fraud and disguising other criminal activities. Number 4. Playboy Club Bunny posing with money after a pay increase announcement in 1972. The Playboy Club was a chain of nightclubs known for its iconic waitresses called bunnies who wore revealing uniforms. In 1972, Hugh Hefner, the owner of the club, announced a pay increase for the bunnies in an effort to attract more employees. The move was aimed at enhancing the quality of service and experience at the club by attracting a higher caliber of talent. Number 3. Fidel Castro addresses the United Nations General Assembly in 1979. In 1979, Fidel Castro, the charismatic leader of Cuba, delivered a memorable speech at the UN General Assembly. During his address, Castro criticized the United States for its historical interference in Latin American affairs and called for an end to the embargo against Cuba. His words resonated with many, and his call for justice and an end to the embargo highlighted the ongoing tensions between the U.S. and Cuba. Number 2. The Godfather, released in 1972, is regarded as one of Hollywood's greatest masterpieces. In 1972, The Godfather became the top-grossing film in North America, earning $135 million at the box office, which is equivalent to approximately $711 million today when adjusted for inflation. It received a total of 11 Oscar nominations that year. Number 1. Miss USA Linda Carter arrives at Heathrow Airport, London. Before she became famous for her iconic portrayal of Wonder Woman in the 1970s, Linda Carter was crowned Miss World USA in 1972. She would later transition into acting and achieve immense recognition for her role as the ultimate female superhero. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the iconic 1970s. If you loved revisiting these insane photographs as much as we did, hit that like button, subscribe for more nostalgic content, and share your favorite memories in the comments below. Thanks for watching.